Hello, my name is Hera Zeiler, and this is my historiographical debate presentation for my proposed dissertation topic, the ideological basis and origins of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms in the United States Constitution. There's been a lot written about this, and this topic has been growing ever since preceding and ever since the 2008 Heller decision from the Supreme Court, in which they said that concluded that the right to bear arms was an individual right. That means individuals have the right to bear arms. However, there is a lot written before then and after then about this right, and the main key debate centers around whether it be a right for individuals to bear arms or if the Second Amendment meant that militias, well regulated state militia, had the right to have arms, right? And that wasn't individuals. Now, the key historiographical discussion was raised by Stephen Halbrook in That Every Man Be Armed in 1984. And in that, he traces the ideas for self-defense and for owning a weapon from ancient times, taking a look at the Greeks all the way through Western civilization, up through the American Constitution, and even into antebellum Civil War, and then modern America. And it is used as a basis for support for the Heller decision. That the individual right of an American citizen to own a weapon was granted from a long line of history up to that point. As soon as he wrote that, of course, there was a lot of backlash, and so there was a lot of other things written as well. But other key supporters and in history background is Robert Shauhope, who wrote a great number of articles in peer-reviewed journals throughout the 80s, 90s, and into 2000s. And they're all in legal journals. So he has a great number of articles, and he also wrote another. He co-wrote with Saul Cornell a monograph in 2000 called "Whose Right to Bear Arms Did the Second Amendment Protect?" And so in that they take a look at the right to bear arms. Now, Saul Cornell has an interesting take. He says, and it's probably the most unique take that I've found, is that it wasn't an individual right to bear arms. It also was not a collective right, but it was a civic right to bear arms. And he has another work in 2006, which goes on to talk about the history of the Second Amendment. And in it, he says it's actually a civic right, and that the militia meant that individuals had to have arms so that they could participate in the civic duty of being part of a militia. And it's an interesting historical perspective. And so there are many different ideas for why we have the Second Amendment. And much more recently, through the 90s and into the present day, there are a few major and a lot of works talking about how the government does have the right to limit the use of firearms, and they often don't go into a historical background for this. It's usually just based off of statistics, meaning that people die from firearms and therefore they should not have them. And so a couple of the key works that also deal with this kind of a topic are Dennis Hannigan et al. Guns and the Constitution, the Myth of Second Amendment Protection for Firearms back in 1995. And in that he discusses a lot of the myths, and they'd go through different ideas about what firearms are, why the Constitution really didn't pertain to them. And then there's much more recently, in 2019, Thom Hartman, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, Understanding America's Gun Control Nightmare. And in this, he actually places some more racial overtones to the justify the limitation of firearms, and that it really wasn't a right to self-defense based in Western civilization, but rather a like a power structure there where people thought that they would own the weapons and then maintain the power structure that was already in place. So there are a great deal of historiographical contributions to this idea that either it was a civic right or a community right or a individual right. Now, what can be added here? There is still a great deal of space to add to this topic. The Constitution of the United States and then the Bill of Rights, of which the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, is based off of many of the already written at that time state constitutions. And the first ones, and the three largest colonies of the time, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts, all had state constitutions written before the 1789 adoption of the United States Constitution, in which they protected the right to bear arms. They all have gun right protections, particularly the Pennsylvania right to bear arms, which dictates that it was specifically written for hunting and for self-defense and for the defense of a civic community from, be it either on the frontier or whatnot. All right, so these all form a basis, and from what I've seen, has not been widely explored, and hopefully will shed some light onto what the idea of a firearm right was in colonial times. And of course, that was based already. It wasn't like guns were just invented for them. There were guns already on the frontier in the colonies since the first colonists got off of either the Mayflower or whatever. And so during colonial times, there was development and rapid development of firearms specific to the American colonial experience. In particular, the Pennsylvania long rifle and Kentucky long rifle, in which they were more reliable, more accurate, and can fire farther, and were more durable, and were specific to the American experience. And so there was already a gun culture before these state constitutions were able to be written, and then the United States Constitution was based off of those. So there is a great deal of work, and it's exciting, and it's a current topic, yet one steeped in a long history. So thank you very much. Again, my name is Hera Zeiler, and I look forward to any recommendations.